Former Orange County Congresswoman Katie Porter is a top Democratic contender in the race for California governor. Ahead of the June primary, Porter is among the Democrats hoping to pick up Congressman Eric Swalwell's supporters after he suspended his campaign. Porter gave an interview to KTLA outlining her priorities, including lowering gas prices, tackling homelessness, and giving free college tuition. KTLA's Andy Rose Ramos reports.
Katie Porter says it's time for California's first female governor.
I think this is a time for women to lead. I think this is a time for moms to lead.
You are a single mother of three who drives a minivan, sort of famously. You must be acutely aware of gas prices. Californians want relief at the pump. You say no to big oil.
Well, one of our reasons that our gas is more expensive here is because we have something called the low carbon fuel standard. We have our own blend of gasoline, and now they see beautiful clean air. We're seeing respiratory health improve. That's because we have our own fuel blend.
So to be clear, you would strongly oppose sort of opening up those refineries, drilling.
We have refineries open right now in California, and they need to stay open. The last couple of weeks have been the most painful I've had in a long time. It's because of President Trump's war in Iran. That is why we're seeing $6 gas.
I want to move to taxes. One of your platforms, eliminating state income taxes for families making under $100,000. Doing this by making the corporate tax structure progressive. That does hinge, though, on a vote. My question to you is, what happens if you cannot get the vote? Is there, in other words, a plan B?
Californians are going to be the ones, as you point out, who get to decide. And they understand right now, if they have the best year they've had, they get a lot of overtime. They get a big raise at work. They might pay a little more tax that year. They might get bumped up into a higher bracket. And they think it's absolutely fair that the same thing should happen for businesses.
You're promising free tuitions at UCs and CSUs, in part funded by that progressive corporate tax you just explained. Can you drill down on some of the details of this plan?
My proposal is to pair 2 tuition-free years at a UC, a CSU, or a Cal Poly with those 2 free years at community college.
Does this apply to people who identify as undocumented?
There's no qualifiers on that with regard to race or immigration status, gender identity. It's Californians.
We looked at your website, the word homelessness. We couldn't find a mention of it under your priorities portion of the website. So I ask you, is it a priority for you?
Homelessness has to be a priority of the governor. The long-term fix on homelessness is bringing down the cost of housing. But I would do some things differently with regard to homelessness than what we've done so far. The focus to date has been on building permanent supportive housing. The people who are unsheltered sometimes aren't ready for permanent housing, but interim housing gives them a step toward that.
The city of LA spent millions trying to get the unhoused from encampments into things like motels. But reporting from the LA Times says it showed nearly half have returned to the streets. Sounds very similar to this interim housing that you speak of.
Inside Home and Home Safe, they were programs that often converted motels. They weren't spaces really designed specifically to support people who were coming from inside.
Want to talk about the current state of California right now. Want to discuss the current leader, Governor Gavin Newsom. If you could, what grade would you give him?
Well, I'm certain that we've all made mistakes, so I think we should show some grace. But I would give him a really solid A-.
We also asked Porter about California Representative Eric Swalwell, who withdrew from the gubernatorial race amid allegations of sexual misconduct and has now resigned from Congress.
I start from a place of believing women and think that sexual harassment and other crimes like that are altogether too common. They're common, unfortunately, in other workplaces, and they happen in politics too. I want those women to feel safe legally in coming forward. If they want to tell their stories, they deserve to be heard and they deserve to be believed.
And a reminder, KTLA and Nexstar Media Group will host a live statewide televised debate. I'm going to be moderating alongside Inside California Politics host Nikki Lorenzo. Debate night in California. The race for governor will air live at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, April 22nd from San Francisco.